Hi everyone, welcome to the Vandal Theory, a podcast about science and research at University of Idaho. I'm Danae Lenz, the External Communications Coordinator for U of I, and I'm also the host of this special summer season, where we're diving into short episodes on research that really matters to Idaho. Today's topic? One of the state's most valuable resources, water. We're talking with Kendra Kaiser, director of the Idaho Water Resources Research Institute, better known as IWRRI, about how the Institute is helping identify and fill water research gaps across the state. Let's dive in. Hi, Kendra. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So to start out, can you just give us a little bit of context about what IWRRI is?
Yeah, IWRRI is it's the Idaho Water Resources Research Institute, and IWRRI is one of 54 sister institutions across the country in every state and territory. We were established by an act of Congress in 1964 to address state and regional water research needs. And so our role is to coordinate, conduct, and deliver information about research that's relevant for Idaho water users and stakeholders and for the region writ large, support the professional development of the next generation of water professionals, and really get information out to folks about the research findings that we have from our work, and do community engagement and education. And then one of the things that's interesting about IWRRI is that we're nestled underneath the USGS, which is the nation's premier water research agency, and they distribute funds through all of the water research institutes every year, and we distribute some of those funds out to faculty at other institutions across the state. And this year, we're really excited because we were funded by the legislature, $1 million ongoing, to really address a lot of the water research needs in Idaho.
And what is IWRRI doing to identify what Idaho's water needs are?
To identify the water research needs in the state, we formed a committee. It's called the Research Advisory Committee. And the role of the Research Advisory Committee is to compile needs from across the state, identify the big water resources challenges, and then prioritize those research needs into a list that we can use to engage faculty and others in the work. And that Research Advisory Committee is comprised of lots of different sectors, so folks in the ag sector, different state agencies, watershed collaboratives, cities and counties are involved. Anybody that might have an interest in water, you name it, they're probably engaged in the Research Advisory Committee.
Okay. And what are the practical things you are doing to address these gaps?
So once the Research Advisory Committee makes that prioritized list of needs, we're going to then be able to take that list of needs and work with faculty across the state to say who has expertise in these topics and capacities to start conducting the research to be done in these individual communities. And so let's say we have a faculty member that's interested in water quantity questions that are in the East Snake Plain, then we can tell them about the specific needs and then some of the stakeholders that they can be working with and some of the outputs that would be really relevant for those stakeholders. And because of that funding from the legislature, we actually have funds to distribute to faculty to engage in those topics.
Okay. And I know you do some community outreach kind of things to connect with Idahoans. Can you explain a bit about that?
Yeah, that is one of the most fun things that we do is talking about water with anybody that will listen. And so IWRRI has a couple of different programs. One of them that we all really love a lot is the Confluence Project, which is a field-based high school water education curriculum where we take high schoolers out into the field to learn about specific topics like snow science or groundwater or water quality topics. And they get experience in the field. They get to meet water professionals and learn about what career pathways are. And we also are actually doing teacher training to make sure that the teachers in those classrooms have the expertise to teach their students about these topics. And then at the end of the year, it culminates in the Youth Water Summit, which is an opportunity for high school students to present on their water research topics that they've conducted over the year. And so this past year up in Coeur d'Alene, we had over 300 students that were talking about water, and we have water professionals come and judge those presentations, and the students get awards. And there's some of those students that then go into our university system knowing that much more about water resources.
Honestly, that really is cool.
So it's so cool. And we're also working to expand TCP into Southern Idaho. So we are hoping that this upcoming year will be the first TCP in Southwest Idaho as well. So we could have a whole nother cohort of students coming from down here.
So why do you think what you and IWRRI are doing is important?
Number one, we need water for everything that we do. Our biggest part of the economy in Idaho is agriculture, and water is one of the most critical inputs to that system. And so when we think about the future of Idaho, when we think about the recreational opportunities and others, we need to make sure that we have clean and plentiful water to do, to move forward. And so IWRRI is really working to connect people that actually have real research needs with the people that can do that work. Despite the fact that we have lots of state and federal agencies that touch on water research, there's just not enough capacity in our existing institutions to do all of the work that needs to be done. And so IWRRI really is a hub to connect the needs that are in the community with faculty that have expertise that can be applied to some of these big complex issues.
Okay, can you give me like a practical example of what this looks like when you're connecting faculty with community?
Absolutely, yeah. So one of my favorite projects that I've done is a project down in the Big Wood Basin, which is in south central Idaho. And in the Big Wood, maybe 5-10 years ago, they started the Wood River Water Collaborative. And the goal of the collaborative was to bring stakeholders from across the basin together to talk about what their research or what their water resources planning should look like and kind of identify gaps that they have. And through that process, they determined that they needed more streamflow forecasting tools on a couple of critical tributaries in the basin. And so they brought me in and I developed streamflow forecasting tools with a colleague from Montana and a consultant down here in Boise. And these streamflow forecasting tools now predict summer irrigation season volume starting in February. The models get a lot better in March, and it's really important for the stakeholders in the basin because they want to know about stream flows in March because that's the time of year that they're making planting decisions, and so they can determine how many cuttings of alfalfa might they be able to get in a year, or do they need to go to a lower water use crop because it's going to be a drought year and things like that. And so in addition to creating the research output, we also developed an online interactive tool that's on our website so that the water users could easily go to one place to find all the information that we had gathered to explore what the current and upcoming conditions in the watershed are.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that you guys are out there doing this kind of work.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really fun. I feel very fortunate to be able to do this kind of work.
All right. Well, thanks so much for being on the podcast. It's been a great conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to this special summer season of the Vandal Theory. You can visit our website at uidaho.edu/Vandal Theory to learn more about our research. Email us at vandaltheory@uidaho.edu. We are on all of the podcasting platforms, so please rate, review, and subscribe. I'm Danae Lenz. Thanks for listening.